In 2004, a 17-year-old Amir Khan reached the lightweight boxing final at the Athens Olympics. Over in the United Kingdom, the excitement was palpable, with 6.7 million people tuning in to witness one of Britain's brightest ever prospects. Down in Devon, a child sat in front of the TV, captivated, but not by the lightning-fast reflexes and laser-accurate punching of the young Khan. Instead, by the skillful footwork, evasive maneuvers, and general classiness of Cuba's Mario Kindelan, who would secure the gold in style. The child's name was Benjamin Whittaker. Just 20 years later, and Whittaker has flown out the traps in the professional ranks, securing 4 TKOs, 1 KO, and 3 unanimous decisions in his first 8 bouts. But his unconventional style and outlandish showboating has garnered its fair share of critics. Some deem it disrespectful, while others claim that he only performs this way due to the poor state of opponents. However, with boxing ultimately being about entertaining the crowd and drawing eyes to the sport, I feel Whittaker could be instrumental in marketing boxing to the newer generations. Constantly labelled as a tin pot Prince Naseem, I prefer to view him as a pugilist of the drunken boxing technique, which has somewhat faded into obscurity over recent years. The old adage of there being method to the madness comes to mind, especially when delving into the history and intrigue behind the sport's forgotten art.
Emmanuel Augustus was my toughest opponent.
You know what I'm saying? Because they can't stop me from acting a fool.
Oh, the drunken goddess, flaunting her body.
So what is the background of this famous style?
When Augustus spins out of a clinch, Kelly deducts a point.
So, a few years ago I was waitering at a party event. Carrying a tray of 10 champagne flutes, I quickly realised I was in a bit of a predicament. As I manoeuvred my way around the room, I was forced to evade flailing limbs, erratic movements and stumbling drunkards for a number of hours. It was so hard to predict and effectively react to those who were intoxicated. But surely a fighter could leverage these nonsensical movements to bamboozle opponents. This notion is what drunken boxing is ultimately built upon: unpredictability. Perform movements that are insanely unexpected. The origins are hard to trace, but the technique can be linked back to the Tang dynasty around 600 AD. Tang Emperor Li Shimin rewarded the Shaolin temple with meat and wine for the contribution of its monks during a battle. The monks became hooked on the wine whilst continuing to practice their martial arts. They began to develop a form of kung fu which included hitting, grappling, locking, dodging, feinting, ground and aerial fighting. In modern times, the drunken style is a bit harder to pin down, but the use of hard liquor was undoubtedly rife in the bare-knuckle boxing period. William Bendigo Thompson was a renowned bare-knuckle pugilist from the early 1800s who was a hard drinker, and this habit seemed to dictate his ring conduct. He frequently taunted opponents in the ring, would make up rhymes on the spot, or tease them about their mothers and sisters. However, it would be almost 150 years later when drunken boxing became more widely known. Emmanuel Augustus was an American boxer who fought from 1994 to 2011, who shared the ring with notable fighters like Floyd Mayweather, Mickey Ward, and Alex Trujillo. He was described by many as the drunken master, which is ironic as he never touched the hard liquor, but his technique was so unorthodox it sometimes mirrored that of a stumbling drunkard. He would perform feats like hopping on one leg, dancing and displaying bizarre head movement to bamboozle opponents. But he also showed a good grasp of the fundamentals and was comfortable fighting on the inside and trading. If you haven't checked out his highlights, I'd strongly recommend to do so. Across the pond, Prince Naseem was making a name for himself in the ring, displaying the drunk boxing characteristics through a mixture of showboating and erratic movements. You'd be forgiven for thinking he was intoxicated throughout many bouts, with Naseem often attempting to embarrass and humiliate as opposed to seeking knockouts. But in the 20 years since, to my knowledge at least, drunken boxing antics have taken a back seat. Whether this is due to the sport being devoid of personalities or simply the demand dying off, it's not entirely clear. Or maybe these drunken masters are still in the sport, yet they are failing to reach the top levels. In Mark Turley's book, Journeyman, he dedicates a chapter to Jody Michael from Scunthorpe. Although a journeyman with a record to match that label, he'd frequently use the ring as an opportunity to entertain audiences. His antics included sticking his chin out, staggering around theatrically pretending to be wobbled by desperate punches, and patting his opponent on the butt. He even fought against Paul Venner despite drinking throughout the hours beforehand. The actual drunken master, it seems. But of course, journeymen can afford to take the piss, especially when paired against younger and less established opponents. Well, now we might have the opportunity to witness such showboating in a more credible setting. Based out of the West Midlands, Benjamin Whittaker's amateur career was pretty impressive, with 55 victories and 13 defeats. Notably, he only knocked out 2 opponents, relying heavily on the judges' scorecards. He himself has never been knocked out. He first truly rose to prominence when securing a silver medal at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. His closely fought final match bout against Cuba's Arlen Lopez was fascinating, pitting the British slick mover against a former Pan American and Olympic gold medalist. Displaying fast hands, an effective use of the Philly shell, and strong head movement, Whittaker truly embodied the newer trend of slick British fighters. Yet it was only once he joined the professional ranks that his role as a pioneer of modern drunken boxing fully began. Against Greg O'Neill, he launched a series of telegraphed uppercuts. In the Jordan Grant bout, he proceeded to dance and talk to the crowd, while the Willings battle showcased exaggerated pullbacks. However, after the Willings bout, his drunken boxing style was beginning to even rub some boxers the wrong way. Callum Smith lamented Whittaker for being disrespectful to journeymen, whilst future opponents had also some choice words to offer.
He's a very shallow-minded person, you get what I'm saying? He does boxing for the wrong reasons, and I didn't take it personal, but I just took it as a child, someone that doesn't know himself and just talking a lot of nonsense.
Yeah, that's part of the shtick for you, isn't it? Putting bums on seats?
100%. Sadly, a lot of people hate my face. They hate the way I talk, the way I act. But I'm still a boxer. I'm still somebody who works hard. I'm still a kid who was in the gym and dreamed for big nights like this. So I do get happy to do these things. And if people hate it or love it, either way, hopefully they'll watch it.
But Whittaker's outlook on boxing bucks the general trend amongst much of the mainstream. Whether we like it or not, boxing is moving away from humbleness and humility towards caricatures and personalities within the ring. Boxers like Floyd Mayweather, Chris Eubanks Sr. and Prince Nassim were experts at cultivating an image, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but always successful in drawing eyes to their fights, often by people wanting them to lose. But this ultimately put money in their pockets and ensured their legacy is remembered to this day.
To this day!
When boxing fans compare Whittaker to Emmanuel Augustus, many will be quick to point to the fact that Augustus was performing in the drunken style against many skilled opponents. Whittaker, however, is only beginning on his journey and has therefore not faced the same caliber of opponents. Yet both the boxers boast similar outlooks, seeking to have fun and entertain.
A lot of people take things too serious, and of course it's a serious sport, but you gotta have fun, you gotta live your life, and that's what I try and show in the ring.
It's in the air. Whatever happened. But I'm going to have fun with it, and I enjoy doing what I do.
So why not welcome more off-the-wall characters and styles to the boxing game? It will only serve to make the sport more interesting. My honest opinion on Whittaker is basically this: he's a genius for several reasons. Firstly, I feel he knows that it's only early on in his career and he's yet to fight anyone high level, but this could actually work quite well for him, as people will tune in to watch future fights in the hope that he'll eventually be knocked out whilst doing his theatrics. As long as he leverages his evidently high skill set, it's quite possible that he'll be able to fight in a drunken style to various degrees against better opposition. Secondly, in a sport which has at times been devoid of many major personalities for years, his antics will likely distinguish him from the vast majority, building up his reputation. Thirdly, Whittaker is fortunate as he's fighting in the age of social media. Can you imagine how viral Augustus would have gone for some of his tricks if TikTok, Instareels or YouTube were around in the late 1990s? Well, Whittaker has the opportunity to go consistently viral, which he already has done at points, therefore fast tracking his popularity and opportunities. So I don't think he'll mind the criticism, as ultimately any debate will boost the sales and pay-per-views for future fights. That old adage comes to mind of any publicity is good publicity in this situation. But now I want to know what you guys think. Is Ben Whittaker the new pioneer of drunken style boxing? Can he keep this up as the opponents get progressively harder? Or will he eventually be remembered as the clown who was knocked spark out while trying to do the can-can? Let's see what happens in Saudi Arabia against Liam Cameron on Saturday. Please leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing if you're new. Also, it'd be great if you could share the channel with your friends, family, pet goldfish, anyone will do at this stage. Thanks very much and cheers.